Well, you know that statue of David Evans that's in the Lehi City Center?
Yeah.
He's my great-great-grandfather. I worked with civil engineers and others to do civil construction type projects, roads and utilities, and worked on the light rail project for the Olympics, and just a lot of site work. We'd ride our bikes all over. We'd ride to Saratoga Springs or out to the West Fields and catch frogs. And so it was, you know, you left your doors unlocked. It was just really nice. It was a tough living, but it paid better than a lot of jobs. You know, one of my favorite memories is when they'd bring the animals into the rodeo a few days ahead. All of us kids would ride our bikes down and walk around and climb on the gate, on the fences, and imagine ourselves riding one of those bulls. And then I think it was around 1985-ish. You know, there were some thoughts of developing out to the ranches and Eagle Mountain. And anyway, it started growing fast then. I've seen property gobbled up and prices go higher, and it's a different dynamic. So the construction industry just boomed in that time because of the growth, and people liked being here because the labor force was good. I feel like that our growth has gone so fast that it's hard to stay ahead of transportation needs and some of the other infrastructure that needs to sustain that kind of growth.
You know, you mentioned, not good at campaigning, that different, the politics side of it, but maybe that's actually what appealed to voters about you, was the fact that, you're not a quote unquote politician.
And then it helps to have real world experience. And the legislature is a part-time legislature. It feels like a full-time job sometimes. And so it helps to have people from all walks of life that understand those things and come together and really help guide good legislation. You know, we have 3 branches of government, and we have the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive. They all compete for power. And that's what keeps the balance of power. That's a place, too, where the public have input. They can come to the committee meetings. They can talk to the committee and ask questions or give their opinion. So about 3 years ago, I got $60 million that goes into that. It's a revolving fund, so when the road's built, money comes back in. And then I got $20 million a year ongoing last year. When I was campaigning, people would come to me and say, why don't we look at cutting costs instead of raising taxes? If a government entity has the money, they're going to spend it. So sometimes pulling back and say, we're just going to say no, then it forces them to prioritize those things that are most important. So really, the number one role is to protect our rights. And then besides that, the government sometimes says, okay, we're going to do projects or provide services that individuals can't for themselves. I mean, most people, they don't need the government to take care of themselves. I mean, they can take care of themselves. You know, that by I think it's 2060 or some 65, we should double our population.
That's a lot of people.
And how are we going to do that? So what I did is I just said, let's just have a meeting with Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs, Lehi, and American Fork, and Utah County. Let's get with MAG, which is Mountain Land Area of Governments, or Mountain Land Association of Governments. If we're going to go into the lake, the North Shore, or Mid-Lake, what's it going to take? What's down below there? What kind of structures are we going to have to pay for? There's no clear corridor, and we may have to take out homes and businesses.
Which, obviously we don't want to if we don't have to, but we also need to solve the problem, I guess. Right? So I've heard some of these ideas for years, I mean, they've kind of floated around and stuff. When does any of this, actually, boots on the ground, kind of that, when can we expect that kind of stuff, do you think?
Maybe 10 years away. Really.
Which is hard because, there's problems now.
As a subdivision comes in, we actually use less water than the farmland that was there before.
Hey, we're wasting our resources. We have all these resources that we need to use.
Are they graduating with the ability to produce something for their families, or did they just graduating something that was fun but has
Sure.
no value? And I think
Sure.
we ought to be able to give them a choice either in charter schools. Of course, charter schools are public education, but charter schools or private schools or home schools or
Sure.
whatever, people ought to be able to pick what they want.
Have that option. A lot of people don't have a lot of trust in government. You know, obviously, just, you know, there's scandals, different things like that. There seems to be a lack of trust, really not just in government, but in institutions in general.
But I think we've got to be really careful with what we read and the media. We need to look at lots of sources.
Yeah.
You know, radio, newspaper, internet. And so I guess what I'm saying is the people that get involved really understand it. They have the most influence.
Yeah.
And they can help drive policy. But I would just say, take some time, talk to your neighbors, get into it, make some calls. Don't be intimidated to call your legislative representatives and others who are involved in it, and find out about it.
I think that long form content, right? You know, it's uninterrupted. You know, it's just a conversation. I think people get to know, you know, the candidates a little bit better. I do like that there seems to be more of this long form content where people can really get to know and sit down, and because not everybody's going to call you.
You know, sometimes on the news and 6 o'clock news, they hit the highlights. Some people's eyes glaze over if you get into the details too much. I mean, we are a supermajority.
Yeah.
But even then, we're not like Congress. The Republicans in the Capitol, we listen to the Democrats, or, you know, right now we've got one member of another party, but we listen to them, and if they have good information, then we vote for it. And that's the great advantage of having separate states that can do what they want. And if you don't like this state, you can move to another state. They were pretty amazing people that understood history. Most of them were very religious.
Yeah.
And they understood that our rights came from God. The reason you have to make laws is for people who don't control themselves.
Yeah.
Really, if everybody controlled themselves and obeyed the law, most people don't even know who I am.
That's
really.
exactly it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I think you're okay with that, because you're just, hey, I'm just serving. This is what I'm here to serve.
Water, power. We haven't talked about power. Power is a big deal, and especially with the data centers coming in and other, you know, with technology the way it is, we use a lot of power. I think we're going to have to look at nuclear more. It's, you know, the technology's there where it's safe. In fact, there's been less people killed over the years through nuclear than there has been with even rooftop solar. So nuclear's got to be part of the solution. It's reliable, it's clean.
Yeah.
It's you know, you can access it any time, not just when the sun's shining or the wind's blowing. I think those resources are meant to be used, and we ought to use them. I try to teach them to be hardworking and to be responsible and be good citizens, things like that. These are things that build a good society.
Yeah.
I hope that they can see that and emulate that and keep doing that in their families.
Sure.
Perpetuate that. Those who get involved are the ones that make the decisions. You don't have to be something that's, you know, like state senator or state congressman or whatever, U.S. congressman, but just get involved and go to caucus meetings and call us. Don't, you know, we work for the citizens.
Yeah.
So call us and talk to us and be civil about it.
So again, that person's having an influence just by reaching out and being a concerned citizen, I guess, right?
Yep.
In a good manner.